Upper Illinois River Valley Development Authority. Warren?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks to Lake County Partners for providing this opportunity. And I just attempted to share my screen. So can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, great. We're going to talk today about the financing programs that are offered by the Upper Illinois River Valley Development Authority. Primarily, its core function is to provide bond financing. We also have our own enterprise zone, so can offer enterprise zone benefits to project sites that aren't otherwise included in a local enterprise zone. I'm going to refer to it as UIRVDA since it's such a long name. It was created back in 1990, and since then there have been 9 other regional development authorities created. The regional development authorities are special district units of government, again created by state law. They are primarily locally managed through their board of directors, with each county that's part of the authority has representation on the board of directors. And in fact, Kevin Considine is the Lake County representative to the UIRVDA board of directors. UIRVDA itself serves 9 counties now. I think originally it was 6, but then Lake was actually the last county that was added to UIRVDA, and I think that was approximately 2017. I think one other interesting point, I mentioned we're a unit of government, but we are unique in that we don't levy any kind of taxes. We do not appear on property tax bills. Nor do we get support from the state of Illinois. We don't get any annual appropriation. So we're self-sufficient, self-sustaining units of government, and we run our operations through fees that we collect through the bond issuance, or for offering the ability to join the enterprise zone, and those fees are set by state statute with respect to enterprise zones. So you can see the 9 counties there that we represent. This is just a visual of the 10 authorities. So UIRVDA is not alone in its ability to offer these products. All of the 10 authorities have the same ability to do the bond financing that we're going to be talking about, but only 5 of the 10 were given the enterprise zone. And again, that's just driven by state statute. But you can see on this slide what UIRVDA is comprised of, as well as the other 10. And we actually do have a website for just the ILRDAs, as you see on the left. But I'm sure most of you are just going to be focused primarily on UIRVDA and Lake County. But if you're aware of other development projects in other parts of the state, there are opportunities for these similar type of programs. So, you know, the key on the bond financing is that we are double tax exempt, meaning that interest on the bonds are exempt from not only federal, but also state income tax. And that is a unique power that was granted to the regional development authorities by the legislature a few years ago. So generally, you know, we can provide, I think, about the lowest cost bond financing for capital, to reduce your capital costs, and then as well as the other incentives through the enterprise zones, some pretty powerful overall incentives. We have generally 6 different types of bond programs, and I'm just going to kind of run through all of those right now. The first is for manufacturing, and these are called industrial revenue bonds, and they are really intended for smaller base manufacturers. There's a cap on the amount of the bond issuance of $10 million, as well as another cap of overall investment spread over a 6-year period of 20 million. So you can, not that that's not a lot of money, but again, these aren't really designed for the Medlines or the John Deeres or the Caterpillars of the world. They're really geared toward smaller, mid-size manufacturing. And you can see there's some examples of what can be financed. Essentially, any of the costs that would go directly into the manufacturing process. Warehouse space, office space it can be included, but it can only be 25% of the total bond issue. So again, the core is toward the specific manufacturing process. Next is multifamily housing bonds, and these are eligible to both for-profit or non-profit developers. There is an income set aside for the rental tenants or units, such that 20% of the units have to be set aside for individuals that earn no more than 50% of the area median income. And we often see these projects being coupled with low-income housing tax credits that help reduce the amount of equity. These tax credits essentially become equity because, frankly, these kind of developments generally run on fairly thin margins, particularly when there's subsidized rental rates. So coupling with our double tax exempt financing rates with the tax credits can make these kind of deals cash flow. And there's an example of one in Waukegan that we did just a few years ago with a bond program. Next category is not-for-profit bonds, and those are available to any nonprofit corporation that is registered as a 501c3. Again, the projects earn the double tax exemption and can include a diverse set of borrowers, anywhere from private universities, hospitals, medical centers, YMCAs, community centers are all examples of types of projects that we've been able to finance. I mean, there obviously has to be a revenue stream associated with paying off the bond, but there's as I said, there's a number of different type of enterprises that can take advantage. And again, and just the very nature of a non-for-profit is such that they really need the cost savings offered by this type of financing. Next type are education bonds. This is one. Prairie Crossing Charter School is one we financed. Actually financed it under the not-for-profit, but similar type of structure on education. We've done financing for public school districts as well for their capital improvements, and that kind of lists some of the types of things that can be financed. And again, you might say, well, a school district can issue its own bonds, and in fact, Lake County through Lake County Partners can issue its own bonds. So why would they go to a regional development authority for that? Well, the primary reason is that state tax exemption, that double tax exemption that enables us to usually shave an extra 25 to 40 basis points, a quarter to nearly 0.5% interest rate. That's the value generally of that state tax exemption. And in other cases, the units of government or the school districts just may not be that sophisticated in doing a lot of debt financing, and we've got years of experience and know how to get the projects done. Same thing with school districts. We often have units of local government come to us and say, hey, will you issue bonds on our behalf to finance this building or to do this infrastructure improvement? And again, that primary benefit that they're getting is the expertise that we have, as well as that state tax exemption. And you can also refinance existing local government debt through our programs. And one product we're seeing become more popular, and this may have interest to some of the municipalities, is what we call TIF bonds. So we're able to take that increment that's being developed or that's being created through the development in a TIF district and monetize that up front so that funding is available to the developer, and then the bond is paid off as the increment is created over the life of the TIF district. So that's an up and coming product that we're seeing a lot of interest in. Last category we'll call just special purpose bonds, and there are a couple different examples, and one which could, the dock and wharfs could really be a good product for development along Lake Michigan, in particular in Lake County. And then there's another category called solid waste disposal bonds. And those are for manufacturing, but they don't have those same dollar limits as the IRBs do. But they're dedicated to manufacturing that's taking a product out of the waste stream and converted it into some type of commodity that has a market value. So recycling essentially, but it can take many different forms. That wraps up the bond programs. As I mentioned, we have our own enterprise zone. It's kind of outside of the 97 zones created by state law. And as I mentioned, 5 of the authorities have their own enterprise zone. And this has been a very popular product in Lake County, as most of Lake County is without an enterprise zone. Waukegan, North Chicago has one, and then I helped the city of Zion get one established a couple years ago. But by and large, most of the county doesn't have an enterprise zone. So what we're able to do is expand the boundaries of our zone to a specific project site where a development is taking place. It's about a 60 to 120 day process. So it needs to be some upfront planning, but again, it can be a pretty powerful incentive. The primary incentive offered under an enterprise zone is a sales tax exemption on any building materials that are being used for a construction or renovation project. And one way we kind of jokingly talk about, well, what's an eligible building material is, well, if you took a building and turned it upside down, everything that didn't fall out would essentially be considered a building material, and therefore exempt from state and local sales taxes. So the state sales tax rate is 6.25%, and I know Lake County doesn't have its own sales tax, but the municipalities often do. So I think the maximum rate is 8.75%, and that's a pretty significant savings on the construction cost of a new facility, as you can imagine. The second primary benefit is an investment tax credit that the business entity is eligible to take advantage of, and it's a 1/2 of 1%, generally of the overall total investment. It's there's some limitations, but it primarily covers the total investment, and that's a 0.5% offset to the corporate or business income tax, state of Illinois corporate income tax, and that credit can be carried forward for up to 5 years. Now, certain large projects qualify for other types of benefits as well. Like if you're a manufacturer and you're purchasing your natural gas through a third party, you can get exempted from what's known as the wheeling tax, which is assessed essentially for the benefit of being able to have that natural gas shipped through other company pipelines. So that's an exemption that's available really to any manufacturer, or it doesn't have to be a manufacturer, any large natural gas user that's located in an enterprise zone. And then these last two really qualify well, it's a utility tax exemption and what we call a consumables tax exemption, but those have some pretty significant investment and job creation numbers. There's 3 different categories, so I'm not going to go into those right now, but just know on larger projects, those do apply through. There's a separate application process. We added Medline to our enterprise zone. I think that was maybe the first project, and obviously that included their new facility and 2 existing. So they were large enough to qualify for these 2 expanded benefits. So we've done several projects in Lake County. As I mentioned, we've only been operating as part of UIRVDA since I think about 2017, but we've completed 4 bond projects. Prairie Carriage Crossing in the middle is pending, but is expected to close by the end of the first quarter in Mundelein. And as you can see, we've done financing. This is just Lake County of $178 million in these 4 bond projects, and created 168 jobs. On the enterprise zone side, again, we've completed 4 projects or brought 4 project sites into the enterprise zone. We have 2 pending that are near closing right now. The investments represented by those projects is $173 million, a little over dollars in investment, and as you can see, pretty significant job creation retention numbers. Obviously, Medline was a big part of that. But so it can definitely have a good economic incentive impact for local projects. So with that, I'm happy to respond to any questions. Please note the website, both for UIRVDA specifically and then for the overall statewide RDAs. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Warren. That was fantastic.